Hello there and welcome back to this very special two-part interview on Scottish independence. With me in the studio once again is Chris Thomas. Last time we discussed the history of Scotland and the oil origins. This time we'll be looking at the pound and the EU relations. Chris, thank you so much for coming in.
Welcome, Monica.
Pleasure to see you again. Now let's pick things up where we left it off. One other hot debate which is really getting a lot of coverage is whether or not British pound, whether or not Scotland will have their own currency or be allowed to continue using the British pound. Can you tell us more?
Well, Scottish nationalists are loudly assuming that Scotland will remain using the pound and all the other parties will just agree to it. This is too much of an assumption, and Danny Alexander, who is the Secretary for the UK Treasury and the most senior Scottish member of the UK Parliament, has come out and said strongly, no, we don't accept that as a proposal. On the other side, we've got Scotland's First Minister, Alex Salmond, who's also head of the Scottish National Party, coming out and calling that as a bluff on the grounds that the UK would actually have to be forced into the position of accepting the currency or the situation for Scotland due to such things like cross-border transactions for businesses. So it would be a far simpler operation for everyone to keep the pound. So Citigroup last week came out with a report stating that a currency union was highly unlikely. Meanwhile, Standard & Poor's have concluded that Scotland's wealth as an independent nation would likely be that equivalent of any or most other countries on AAA rating. So it seems now that Alex Salmond has 6 months to actually prepare a plan B with regards to what's going on with the pound and what alternatives might actually be.
Now, there clearly is a lot which remains to be seen. One of the other interesting factors is, well, to do with competitiveness. What would Scotland's position be with regards to entry into the EU?
In the middle of February, EC President Barroso came out and said that it would be difficult, if not impossible, for Scotland, an independent Scotland, to get into the EU. He stated that every single East EU country would have to accept the process. And for Scotland, this would actually be a very long and possibly tedious process, and who knows, the result might not even go in Scotland's favour. However, the SNP state that there's no clear evidence that any country would veto Scotland's continuing rights and membership of the EU. Not even the likes of Spain, who obviously have concerns as to the outcome of the Scottish independence with regards to their Catalonia vote at some point in the near future. So the worst case here for Scotland would be the fact that they might be out of the union with the United Kingdom and outside of the EU, two of their largest trading partners.
Now that obviously is worst case scenario, but business, no matter where you are in the world, is obviously important, and very important decisions have to be made. But what's the consensus? What's the feeling for businesses in Scotland and the UK? Are they kind of for or against it so far?
Well, more multinational companies that are based in Scotland or who have significant offices in Scotland are coming out and stating that there's really a lot of problems with this situation for their businesses. Now, Standard Life, Sainsbury's, Lloyds Bank, Barclays Bank and Shell have all come out recently and stated this. Due to these uncertainties with the whole situation, a lot of them are starting to prepare backup plans for moving head offices or assets to England. So there is actually an argument for many businesses that there's an opportunity, not just a threat. However, given the fact that there's so much negativity from the business community, suggests that the nationalists have not yet prepared a proper plan as to what would happen for Scotland and the business community going forward if there was independence.
Okay, so you mentioned there negativity, Chris. We find ourselves now March, just some 6 months away from the big important date on the 18th of September. What are the polls telling us at the moment, though?
Well, generally, polls for yes vote for independence are coming in the low 30% of the population. And people voting no against the independence are in the upper 30%. So that still leaves around a third of the Scottish population do not know what way to vote. Alex Salmond's biggest challenge is not only about persuading Scottish people to vote for independence, but to assure them that it won't have any significant side effects on the nation's prosperity, currency, or place within Europe.
Well, that does seem to be the thing, Chris. I mean, I know when I'm asked, I say there's not enough information out there. What about yourself? What are you feeling at the moment?
I'm still undecided as to what's going to happen. We shall see what other information comes along in the next 6 months.
Definitely. Okay, well, it's been a pleasure chatting it all through with you. We will see what happens on that all-important date, but thank you for sharing your insights, Chris.
Thanks, Monica.
Thank you. Okay, well, that's all from Chris and myself for the moment. Make sure you click back to Dukascopy TV for many more exclusive interviews. Goodbye for now.